Beoto and George could be seen in the parlor of the mansion. George was kneeling near Shannon's body as though praying. His face was serious and there was even sweat on his forehead. However, Beoto was the same. Now that she had handed her name over, most of her previous power had been lost. Of course, she still had more than enough power to be called a witch, but compared to the past, it was a very faint thing. I'll do whatever I want. George kept praying earnestly and silently. He kept frantically yelling inside his heart, trying to call back to the soul of the person he loved. I have a feeling he's going to commit suicide, by the way. I'm just getting that vibe right here. Because he seems pretty off his rocker right now. Understandably, though. He strongly envisioned his soul leaving his body and searching for her as she wandered through the land of the dead. Beota turned that strong force into magical power that supplemented her own magic. This was magic that in the past she could have performed easily without anyone's help. But now if she didn't rely on someone's assistance, she wouldn't be able to finish the chant, much less succeed. Jesus. Beota was wearing an even more strained expression than George. It had slipped her mind, but originally the magic to revive her life was the ultimate hidden art. The abnormal thing was her previous magical power, which could be used over and over with the snap of her fingers. So the heavy burden of her body and mind was, fundamentally speaking, extremely natural. It's just called being really fucking determined. The strong energy pouring from George was large enough to act as a magical power. At first, Beato thought it must be the blood of Kenzo the sorcerer. However, that probably wasn't it. She had a feeling that Battler had already told her what it was. It had been born from the power of George's sadness at the death of the person he loved, and from the way he had tried his hardest throughout his life. The warm time he spent together with Shannon, to the sides of the dream they swore to protect in the future. Is it really possible for humans to take life so seriously, even though they only have a single one? If anything, they don't take it seriously enough. It was only natural. To her, life didn't mean anything more than the difference between the top and the bottom of an Othello piece. If the black represented death, then she thought all she had to do was flip it over again and make it white. However, it was just like that broken vase. To humans in a world without magic, where they cannot return things to their original form, it is very, very natural for them to bet their life and soul. The time the witch acknowledged it. He was able to hold a magical power that could never reside in witches who didn't understand the value of a life. Why does this thing called the endless magic exist? Even though I called myself the endless witch, did I forget what the endless magic means for 1,000 years? She looked at George's expression again. His surging earnestness was like a lightning bolt. Right now, even if George's body had been burned or smashed by a waterfall, he would probably continue to pray for his beloved without minding it, without noticing it. For the first time, she showed respect for that power. So in that instant, all the magic resistance was lost, and the enormous power of George's feelings turned into magical energy in its complete form. The vase was very beautiful, rich with history and value. Even as young as I was, it still forced me to take a deep breath when I witnessed its beauty. Now that just made me want to touch it. But the vase easily fell and smashed into pieces, like a bubble that had popped. It felt as though the time it possessed a form, it had been just an illusion. Lives are just that fragile, just that easily lost. I realized that my foolish curiosity had led to something that couldn't be undone. No matter how much I regretted it, no matter how much I apologized, the smashed vase wouldn't return back to its original form. A lost life will not return to normal, no matter what happens. I was frightened that, even though my actions had been thoughtless and careless, they had stolen away a life that could never be revived again. Then I pitied that lost life and cried. I was frightened of myself, the one responsible for its loss, and cried even more. I'm sure Grandfather will also cry at the loss of his precious vase. I'm sure that all the people who love Grandfather and see him like that will cry. With the loss of a single life, the whole world can be filled with so much sadness. I cried even more at how terrible that was. Beatrice appeared and spoke.
ならばお嬢様、この壺を魔法でよみがえらせましょう。それで皆が幸せになれるなら、壺も魔法も精霊たちも喜んでそのために力を貸し、元の姿を取り戻すでしょう。さあさあ、お嬢様、目を閉じて私と一緒にお歌を歌いましょう。さあさあ、目を閉じてごらんなさい。そして思い出してごらんなさい。あなたがどんな姿をしていたのか、それはきっととてもとても美しい姿。どうか私にあの姿をもう一度見せておくれ。
Okay. Those words of power knocked forcefully on the door of the land of the dead. The magic of her old self that had performed that same powerful knock. However, doing it that way was horribly violent and earned the displeasure of the peacefully sleeping dead. But this time was different. It was very forceful and yet gentle and loving. The dead near the door opened their eyes and called out to the others that were there was a voice calling for someone to come back. The sadness of that voice calling from the outside touched the hearts of the dead, and trying to respond as quickly as possible, they searched for Shannon's lost soul. And then they found it. They found the casket in which Shannon was peacefully sleeping. It truly was Shannon's soul, sleeping in the land of the dead. Inside the casket that was covered with flowers frozen with frost, she was sleeping in peace. The dead silently lifted that casket up. While at a glance it looked like a funeral march, it had a complete opposite meaning. It was solemn, but filled with joy. The long-forgotten dead were made to remember that they were loved after their death, and they were all given a warm sense of peace. Then, as though guided by a warm light from the heavens, Shannon's body floated up out of the casket. The dead watched her go. They squinted at that warm light, offering their respect to the unknown member of the living, who had not lost his love for a person even after their death. Shannon's body was enveloped in the light from the heavens and began to disappear. In the jet-black darkness of the land of the dead, the faint flickering of gold butterflies could be seen. It reminded them of the gentle stars in the night sky, which they had long forgotten. George remembered being told that he must not say anything and that he hurriedly covered his mouth. However, it felt like his heart was trying to jump into his throat, because he had seen Shannon's eyelids shake slightly. Then those eyelids slowly opened. Shannon's eyes were there, but they were still warped in the fog of the land of the dead. However, the human world's warmth. No, Her lover's warmth, which had called back her soul, slowly dissolved that fog, and her eyes gradually regained their sparkle. Then her eyes moved and recognized George.
ジョージさん。
As her lips spoke weakly, Shannon definitely said that. The words were very faint, so much so that they normally wouldn't have reached her ears. However, George clearly heard them. He heard the person he cared for his fiancée, the one he loved most and who should have been dead, call his name once again.
シャノン、僕がわかるかい?
No, she just said George for no reason, dude.
ジョージさん。これは夢なの？
いや、これは夢じゃないよ。だからほら、つむっても覚めないよ。
I advise you not try that, just in case. As George said that, he softly pinched Shannon's cheek. It was how George had always responded in the past when Shannon had been surprised by something and had asked if she was dreaming. When Shannon felt the warm touch of George's fingers on her cheek, and when George realized that the warmth of the living had already returned to his beloved person's cheek, they both cried. What words should a pair of lovers separated by death celebrate when they are reunited? The words of a human world are not enough. In short, they had no need of words of this world. George simply hugged Shannon, who was sitting up without talking. Shannon's strength was still feeble, and putting her arms around George's back took all she had. So George hugged her tightly to make up for that. To stop each other from going once more to a place that the other's hand couldn't reach, they hugged each other so tightly and yet so gently. As Shannon's fingers curled around George's back, on her ring finger the engagement ring George had given her definitely shone. That strong glint certainly wasn't just the sparkle of diamond. This definitely was a magical power that only the two lovers could possibly feel. It was because that strong light existed that they had been able to find her casket in the land of the dead. Beato understood. That ring, no. The feelings of the pair embodied in that ring were a miracle made real. In that moment, George definitely used magic. Beato had done nothing more than help him along. That magic had a power that could only reside in those who knew of the importance of life, who knew what it meant to try with all one's might. It was the power of a miracle, one that the endless witch couldn't possibly know of. A miracle that only the power of the finite could give rise to. By now she had no choice but to accept it. She had to accept that true magical power, exists in the place furthest away from she who called herself a great witch.
ベアトリーチェ様。
彼女が君を生き返らせてくれたんだ。
Well, I mean, just like the vase, it eventually has to go back, right? So, I mean, it's gonna end up that, and he's probably gonna kill himself after that point.
ありがとう、ベアトリーチェ。
シャノンを蘇らせた。そなたの魔力。そなたの魔。奇跡を成し遂げる後ろの血。確かに驚かさせてもらったぞ。ジョージさんが私を。
Yeah, I just had to sacrifice 12 babies to do it, but you know, it's worth it.
わらわなど足元にも及ばぬほどの凄まじき魔力であったぞ。
Well, at this rate, you can't.
わらわなどまだまだ見習いの域を出ぬか。今こそ身の程を知ろうぞ。
Beata staggered backwards. Her physical strength was clearly exhausted. She had humbly said that George's power alone had revived Shannon, but Beato had also used all of her magical and physical strength. And she reflected upon how difficult it was to revive a single life, something she'd been able to play around with however she wanted it to in the past. The couple kept on embracing each other tightly. By doing that, those feelings that couldn't be communicated with a billion words were shared.
ありがとう、ベアトリーチェ。君は僕たちの恩人だ。
ありがとうございます、ベアトリーチェ様。再びジョージ様に会わせてくださったこのご恩を決して忘れません。
よせよせ、愛し合う二人に感謝されては外道の極みと恐れられたわらわにはくすぐっわらわのことは気にするな。存分に再会を祝い合え。
Beato, who was leaning with her back against the wall, slid down the wall and sat. How many centuries had it been since she last grew this tired from using magic? I probably haven't been this tired since the time I first succeeded in magic. Didn't teacher praise me that time? Oh, but didn't I kill the same teacher who praised me? Don't be so naive, Beatrice. Isn't that what killing means?
ようやく魔法の使い方を思い出したようですね。
頭ん中酸欠でカラッカラで思い出すもへちまもねえぜ。それよりあんた殺したじゃねえかよ。現れるんじゃねえよ。
あなたが未だに私を生かしていますよ。だからこうして現れられます。
Okay.
もっともあなたの頭を撫でに来たわけでもありませんが。
Aw.
無様な
I'd love to see that, by the way.
わざわざ嘲笑いに来たかよ。それに隠居までした魔女が今さら頭なんか撫でられちゃ他の魔女の笑い物だぜ。
そうですね。一人前どころか現役を退いたと豪語するあなたなのに、今頃になって魔法の使い方を覚えたなど恥ずかしくて誰にも言えませんね。
だなあ、内緒にしてくれよ、お師匠様。
Beato gazed at the couple hugging each other with a sense of pleasant despondency.
愛か。勝てねえな。
What are we gonna get Beatrice now wanting to fall in love with someone? A certain someone that currently is denying her existence?
45データ治療
Oh, fucking surprise. Hey, look at that. Ah, death is coming. What a fucking surprise.
射撃準備完了。男子先手装填。
Because let me guess, they felt the magic and then it's like, oh, nope, we gotta kill him. Because bullshit reasons, right?
410射撃
Damn it.
2
Rip. The gold snake arrow fired by the chysters weaved its way through the bushes in the rose garden, weaved its way through the hedges, and climbed the stone steps towards the mansion's entrance, aiming for the keyhole. Ooh, someone really needs to fucking plug up a keyhole or two. It weaved through the corridors and flew into the keyhole under the door of the parlor. What do you expect? Seriously, Beatrice. It happened in an instant. One could hardly blame Beato, who was completely worn out, for not noticing it beforehand. I was waiting for it. And dead. Right before Beato's eyes, the gold snake flew in through the keyhole, surrounded the two lovers, and pierced the two hearts in a blink of an eye. Furthermore, the gold snake faithfully pierced a hole through Shannon's chest once more, in the exact same spot, right, to make it seem like, she didn't, come back to life and then get killed again. The two hearts were pierced by the gold snake. No, by the gold sewing thread of the new brutal witch's furniture. And it had happened in an instant, mocking the amount of effort it had taken to revive Shannon. Before Beato's shock dies, the two fell over and landed on the floor.
ジョージサノン
ありがとうベアトリーチェわずかの合わせてくれてありがとう
George spent his last breath thanking Beato and died alongside the one he loved. The gold snake, which still sewed the two in place, spun like a large cyclone, revolving around the inside of the parlor. It was searching for further prey in the room. Then the tip of the snake met Beato's gaze. In that instant, Beato was prepared to die. I'm not gonna die. And at that moment, Virgilia stood in front of her, the fingers of both of her hands growing a seal. Instantly, gold-colored gold leaf buried the inside of the parlor. It was like a blizzard of gold.
ベアト、今のうちに逃げて。
Never mind, they were trying to kill her.
シエスタの黄金宮からは誰も逃れられない。
410標的疾患
What?
200魔法機回し45両体索敵変更対人画像追尾方式
Jesus Christ, this is insane.
標的再捕捉410データリンク410データ受領すっとろいに仙台様来て来て来て着弾
And she's gonna die eventually, apparently. Prey targeted by the Chester sisters' golden bow did not escape. It could not be blocked. No magical barrier could even dream of blocking it without being multi-layered, so it's fucking overpowered. The gap opened during that instant of confusion caused by Virgilia's deception magic was Beato's only chance to escape. And it was the only chance to make the sisters confuse Virgilia for Beato. As Virgilia spread her arms wide, blocking the way to her beloved disciple, the gold snake pierced straight through her heart. No! After sneaking through the keyhole, the snake shot through George, Shannon, and then Virgilia in an instant, completely failing to notice Beato as she used that instant to escape. No! I liked her, though. Well, she was already dead, so it really didn't matter. As soon as Virgilia saw that Beato had gotten away, she died. Again. The strength left her body, and like gold dust drifting with the wind, her form was erased. Better come back again. Beato completely erased all traces of her magical power, becoming gold butterflies and passed through the wall, escaping to the wind and rain outside. Beato felt regret from the bottom of her heart. Why? Because she had been attacked by the new witch? Probably not. Of course she hated losing her teacher. Even more importantly, Beato was enraged at the barbarism that had boorishly stolen away the reunion between two lovers. Hey! Welcome to what happened in the second Twilight. I guess, this is what happens when you're on the other side, right? Beato had poured out almost all of her magical power to reunite them, even though the result had been a miracle. The time it took to steal that away had been so ridiculously short. Beato trembled at the barbarous cruelty that had brought about such an abrupt end. Besides, this was the true form of the act she had committed up until that point. So just as strongly as Beato hated the new witch, he also looked at her previous self with disgust. Character growth. Too strong. But now she had to escape. If she was targeted next, she would probably lose her life. To think that a chess player had descended thinking that they were like a god, only to be attacked by the pieces. You know, don't descend onto the board, anything can fucking happen at that point.
合わせて2度もう一度引き裂いて3度楽しめる
I thought the whole point was that she wanted to, to keep the family alive. What happened to that?
そのついでにあのクソうるさいババアまでさよならできて最高にご機嫌よ。
ございますベアトリーチェ様。
あいつは魔女の碑文の儀式を妨害したのよ。第一の番の生贄を勝手に蘇らせて私の儀式を妨害したわ。文句言われる筋合いなんかなんにもないわよ。しかしずるいなあいつは死体を残さないのね。あのババアも思いっきり何度も無限にいじめ殺して遊んでやろうと思ったのに。
God, you're the worst.
「ジョージが来てないわよ。いつ降りたのよ。
When he opened the window and jumped out.
いつってあれは何時くらいだったっけ。
確か4時か5時くらいだったかな。最低でも1時間以上前だよ。
What? Guys, after 30 minutes, you should have been looking for him. What the fuck is wrong with you people? Jesus Christ.
俺たち眠くなってその後は多分居眠りしてたしね。もう多分ジェシカの言う通りだと思うぜ。
Oh my god. Oh yeah, it's just over an hour ago. What?
1時間か2時間くらい前だった。
Or 2? Oh my god, you guys are the fucking worst cousins ever. Worst friends. What the hell? When people are dying, I wouldn't let someone have 20 minutes by themselves at that point.
私もそのくらいの頃だと記憶しています。コーヒーのおかわりがいるか聞かれました。
Something hard to believe had happened. Apparently when Aunt Ava had left for a second to wash her hands, Uncle Cross and Aunt Natsu had disappeared. There's no way they went hiding somewhere. Of course, the doors and windows all had been rigorously checked, and they were locked from the inside. Not one of them was broken. And that wasn't true just for the first floor. The second floor was the same. Again, all the doors and windows had locks built in a way that made it impossible to lock them from the outside. In other words, there was no way that Aunt Krause and Aunt Natsu had gone outside, and yet they couldn't be found. Furthermore, they weren't the only ones who had disappeared, so had George, of all people. George had left saying he was going to get some more coffee, and had gone downstairs more than an hour earlier. We'd assumed that he was having a conversation with Aunt Ava and the rest, but Aunt Ava, who had been in the lobby the whole time, said no one had come down. Since all the doors and windows were locked from the inside, it was unthinkable that they had gone outside. However, 3 humans had evaporated from this barricaded guest house, which had become a perfect closed room. In a situation like this, we couldn't imagine that this was because they were playing hide and seek and trying to scare us with a prank. That would be fucked, and I'd beat the shit out of anyone that did that. It was probably reasonable to assume that they'd been caught up in this crime. Actually, no, I would personally escort them outside of the building, kick them out, and lock the door behind them and say, "Have fun. Fuck you." When Aunt Ava had learned about her only son was missing, she had gone half insane, running from room to room yelling his name, and Jessica, who had suddenly lost both of her parents, had chased after her. Cries of George, and Mom and Dad had continued to echo through the guest house for some time. I think George said something about wanting to see Shannon's dead face. It would be reasonable to assume that he snuck out of the guest house and went to the mansion, but I didn't have a clue about Uncle Cross and Aunt Natsu. Did they see him and leave and then go to the mansion and search for him? Not even telling Aunt Ava. At this rate, it's only a matter of time before we start planning to leave the gas house to go search for him. When that time comes, I'll agree. We thought staying holed up in the guest house would be safe, which was why our big happy group of 12 people locked themselves up here this morning. And yet now there's only 4 of us left. That means staying here is no guarantee of safety. However, there's one thing we can't afford to forget. All the doors and windows were locked from the inside. This is a closed room. How did they manage to vanish from this place? Someone locked the doors behind them. Probably killed them, or in this case, George ran away. Someone locked the door behind him, or window behind him, maybe non-joke. Maybe he killed George, threw him out the window, locked the window, like if he's just outside. If not, possibly, he could have killed like all 3 of them, drug them outside. Or, I'm all over the place right now. Ava could be involved, or could be killing people. Because, I mean, her alibi is I was washing my hands. It's kind of bullshit. If you really want to get down to it, it's kind of bullshit of a alibi. You don't have any. So, she's pretty guilty, or at least seeming guilty right now. Maybe George saw his dad outside and ran out after him. And, that kind of shit.